Assalamu alaikum, I'm Idris Tawfiq and welcome to A Life in Question. My guest today has chosen 5 pieces of music that are important to him, and during the next hour we're going to talk about the music, about my guest's life, and maybe even about life itself. Today I'm delighted to welcome Professor Galal Zaki, Professor of Integrated Marketing Communications at the American University in Cairo. Professor Galal, you're very, very welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's great being here with you, Idris.
As an introduction, can I just read to the listeners what the AUC website says about you? The AUC website says, Galal Zaki is a leading expert in integrated marketing communication with extensive experience in public education projects, corporate advertising and public relations campaigns, government programs and corporate social responsibility. Mr. Zaki brings a wealth of local and international experience, culminating in his receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from the International Advertising Association for his services to the industry. Now, before we talk about all of that, there's a lot of advertising in that. I want to ask you the question, is advertising, can we sum it up? Is it about persuading people to buy things they don't want? Is that what advertising is?
A lot of people think that, but there's also a lot of public service announcements and campaigns, behavior change communication, and that's why I call it integrated marketing communication rather than just advertising. And that's using all the disciplines of public relations, advertising, direct marketing, sales promotion, events management, branding, corporate social responsibility.
Okay. Is advertising then, let's stick with advertising, is it ethical? Is advertising ethical?
It should be. Now, for example, there's a difference between, making something look better than it really is. For example, when you're talking about food, they usually have what they call appetite appeal shots. So, for example, milk, if you're showing a yogurt and you're showing milk, the milk is usually white paint. So that it comes down and splashes, and they do it with a high-speed camera. Shampoo is not shampoo, it's egg white. Because shampoo with bubbles will not stay there with the heavy lighting. But now, that's all right.
So
because
that's okay.
That's okay because people know these are, grown-ups who are going to go and buy whatever it is.
Yes.
And if they don't like it, if it doesn't taste good, or if it doesn't, do what it promises to do, then they'll stop. But what will be unethical is if you're talking to children and you show them a toy that moves faster than it really does after they buy it. That would be unethical because children will only believe what they see. And they're not able to say no. Well,
and what? Okay, then what? Not just unethical, but maybe even immoral. Maybe. For example, you could have. We won't give you the particular advertisement. I'm thinking of one for a particular dark brown fizzy canned drink, and here in Egypt, it's marketed with a beautiful young woman, gasping and sighing as she's drinking the bubbly brown liquid. Is that?
Yes.
Should we have that sort of thing?
Well, if you don't have it, there are different schools, different ways of looking at it, different countries, different cultures. At the end of the day, advertising is supposed to make the product cheaper, because otherwise you'll have salespeople going out and knocking at people's doors and telling them, "Why don't you try this? It's going to taste good,
really?
Or it's going to do something good for your hair."
So advertising is supposed to make it cheaper.
Yes, because you get to a whole, big audience, especially if you're talking about television or now with the internet and social media, you get millions of people watching it. Now, if you don't have that, the other alternative would be a salesman going and knocking at your door and telling you, try this product. It's going to do this, this, and that for you. That will cost a lot of money because you'll have to hire millions of people to go and do this job. Again, it's also informative. I mean, you're at ease. You're watching either the internet or television or listening to the radio or reading a newspaper, and they tell you about something that you may not have thought about, but then you say, that's a good idea. I'd like to go and buy that. So it depends on how you look at it. Okay. It depends on which country it's
so done. That's advertising. Marketing is different.
Marketing is the big. Advertising is a small component of marketing. We usually talk about the 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, place, promotion. Promotion is that part which is the advertising.
I see.
All right.
So advertising is a commercial on the TV. That's advertising.
Is on
or
TV
a picture
or
in the newspaper,
or a poster in the as point of sale material at the supermarket, or on the product itself. Buy two get one free.
Okay.
On the occasion of Ramadan, do this.
I see. Okay. That's advertising.
Yes.
And marketing.
Marketing is the bigger picture where you talk about the price of the product, you talk about the distribution, the place. You talk about promotion, which is the advertising, and you talk about the product itself, you know, what's it going to do for you. And they have other P's like positioning, you know, how are you positioning your product versus the competitors.
What do you mean by that?
For example, we have a saying in advertising that says you're selling the sizzle, not the steak. You are not selling, for example, education at the university. You're selling prestige. You know, is it Harvard University or whatever?
I see, yes.
This is not a mobile.
Yes.
It has different meanings. This, for me, is prestige. I want to show off, tell you I'm an important businessman. I have the most expensive, telephone. For a mother, it could be security. She's worried her daughter is coming at midnight in a taxi, and she wants to know that her daughter is safe. So you're not a dentist, you are a pain reliever or a sex appeal maker.
Yes,
you make my teeth white and my breath fresh.
Yes. It's very interesting.
Yeah. There's another interesting book called Biology. And biology spelled B-U-Y .ology. What makes people buy things?
Yes. So you're selling lifestyles to people.
You're selling the sizzle. You know, it can
the
be
sizzle, not the steak.
Not the steak. You can buy a car only when you go inside and you smell that new car smell. These are sprays that are put inside.
Really?
Or the clicking of the door as it closes. If you're buying one of those clunk, that can affect your purchasing decision.
I see.
If you're in a shop that sells, holiday things like bathing suits, rod and reel and all that, they can play music from Hawaii and then send out a smell of coconut. And that can affect your purchasing decision.
Yes.
Now, is this ethical or unethical? For example, if you're going in a mall and you're near a supermarket, you could be smelling the smell of coffee or freshly baked bread, which would entice you to go in, and that there would be the little cafeteria there, or the bakery.
In fact, in one of the malls in Cairo at the moment, when you go to the escalator, you go through sort of a little archway, and it changes every week, advertising a particular product, and there's a smell you go through.
Okay.
And maybe that's doing exactly the thing. That it's exciting you to go and have coffee or buy toothpaste or
the cornflakes. The way they crumble in your mouth or make a sound affects your purchasing decision.
So it's all very subtle, and we don't realize we're being played with, manipulated. Yes.
And then there's a very interesting something called The Story of Stuff by an American activist called Annie Leonard. And if you go on YouTube and look at Annie Leonard, talks to us about how advertisers make us feel bad. You don't have so they have something called planned obsolescence and perceived obsolescence. So manufacturers will plan something to become obsolete. For example, I used to know the marketing manager of a razor blade company, and he told me, Galal, we can manufacture a razor blade that you can use forever. But if we did that, we'd be out of business.
We'd buy another one.
Planned obsolescence.
I see,
it'll stop working well after 10, 15 times. Then there's perceived obsolescence, and that is, now you're wearing high heels. No, that's not the fashion. It's low heels. They go broader. Or the computer is not as sleek as it looks like a washing machine.
Yes.
So
fascinating. Tell us your first choice of music before we move on.
First choice of music would take me back to the late 50s, early 60s when I was in my prime, and I used to love listening. At the time, Egypt was a closed door economy, and we weren't really exposed to the outside world, but we used to have a radio station from Europe, and I loved listening to the Everly Brothers singing Dream.
Okay, Dream, the Everly Brothers.
Dream, 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 when my arms when I want you, and all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream, 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 dream when I feel blue in the night, and I need you to hold me tight whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips of wine anytime, night or day. Only trouble is, gee whiz, I'm dreaming my life away. I need you so that I could die. I love you so, and that is why whenever I want you, all I have to do is dream, 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 dream. I can make you mine, taste your lips.
So that was the Everly Brothers taking us back to the late 50s?
Late 50s, early 60s.
With Dream. So why this choice in particular? Why that particular choice of music?
Well, at the end, you know, just the time when the British were at school, we had a Mr. Beasley, and he used to give us a poem called "If" by Rudyard Kipling. If you can dream and not make dreams your master or something. So it was very romantic, and I used to sing it to all my girlfriends. I had 11 girlfriends at the same time. And it worked. So no, it was at the time. We used to understand the words of songs. Today, I don't know what's happening. I don't half the words I don't understand.
Well, tell the listeners you're no stranger to the radio building here at Maspero.
No. I started. I was at the club, putting on a British accent and
the club in
jokes.
Cairo. The club in Cairo.
Yes, just across the Nile. And I put on a British accent, and then Lord Ashley goes home one night, and then they said, "Well, Galal, why don't you come and work as an announcer at the radio?" So I came here, and they did a voice test, and at the time I became an announcer. At the time, they used to pay me 50 piastres for reading the news.
Really? It's not gone much up since then, listeners.
Yeah.
Were you in the studio at all? This one?
No, on the second floor, and it was Studio 7. There were different studios. We had the North America shift at 4 o'clock in the morning. But we had the European shift, and there was another music program that I used to present. It was fun.
Okay, where were you born?
In Cairo.
In Cairo. Tell us a bit about your early years.
I was at the time Cairo. We only had 2 million in Cairo, and I went to an English school.
2 million in Cairo.
Yes, the population in the late 50s.
Really?
2
Is
million.
it true that in those days, the other side of the Nile, there was nothing there?
Oh yes, yes. All those huge
Really?
skyscrapers.
Cairo was just here,
it was
and the
clean. I mean, the air was so. I used to run from my house to another club in Heliopolis, and I used to live in a place called Kuba Palace, which is near between two palaces in Heliopolis, and the air was lovely. It was clean, and so anyway, I went to an English school. It was run by the British. It was a co-educational school, and we had houses: Raleigh, Grenville, Frobisher, Drake. We used to play cricket. Hit the ball, Zaki, and get beatings for doing anything wrong. 3 of the best. What you say, Zaki? Thank you, sir. And I was at the time. All I was interested in at school, the English school, was sports and girls, and not necessarily in that order. So I discovered to attract girls that I had to be a good sportsman. So I had most of the track and field records. I had the 100 meters, 200, 400, 800, 1,500. Won the cross country, didn't break the record, but beat the person who had the record. One long jump, but didn't break the record. Officially, they said you can't break it. I kept jumping until I did. We won the hockey tournament, the the football tournament, I won the tennis tournament and the squash tournament. I thought I was God's gift to earth. But I discovered that also to attract girls, I had to tell jokes. And this is really what got me into advertising. And I never applied, as you see, radio, I didn't apply for a job. Told more jokes here. They told me come and work at the newspaper, the Egyptian Gazette. Went and worked there. And then I was hired by somebody. After I went abroad, I did a master's in English literature and with a minor in theater.
Where
art
was that? Where?
In University of North Dakota. It's 60 below zero. They have male, female, and parka. People. So came back, and after I did my master's in James Joyce, and there was a famous person who started his advertising agency, Tariq Noor, and he said, Galal, come and work with me. I said, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to give me funny ideas to turn into television commercials. And that's how I got into the advertising and then PR.
You'd no experience of advertising at all?
At all. We started learning from the Wilkinson Swords, the Colgate Palmolives, Schweppes, great. We learned a lot from Schweppes. So it was...
I want to ask you about, we're talking about advertising and marketing. For me, marketing, would I be right? Marketing is about getting the message across. Whatever message you want to get across, be it selling toothpaste or selling a religion, you have to market it properly. Is that what marketing is?
Yeah, but marketing is bigger. What you're talking about is communication.
Okay.
And when we talk about integrated marketing communication, advertising is only one part of it. There's public relations, there's direct marketing, there's e-marketing now with social media. So there's branding. So all these are disciplines that when you put them together properly and create synergy, you get more money. But when marketing as the big umbrella is talking about, that's only one part of marketing, because you're talking about pricing if it's a product.
Because you see, the reason I ask is, for example, in the world, Islam doesn't have a very good name in the West.
Right.
Could its name be improved if the skills of marketing and communication were employed?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would call it the skills of integrated marketing communication, because you're using public relations. There are terminologies. You need people who are good at communication. So in integrated marketing communication, there's a lovely model. If you follow, then you can't go wrong. I call it Rabostic. The R stands for research. And research stands for situation analysis, and SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So if we talk about, say, Islam, what is the situation analysis here in Egypt, or are we talking about the world, or where are we talking about? Where are we coming from? Where are we now? And where do we want to be in the short, medium, and long term? Then what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses? These are internal. And what are the opportunities and the threats? These are external. The A of robotics is the audiences, and audiences you need to make a stakeholder mapping. You put Islam in the middle, then who can be affected or affect Islam?
Yes.
You have different countries, you have different religions, you have different what they call stakeholders. So you do a stakeholder mapping. The B of robotics stands for budget, and budget is, we're talking about communication. How much do you have so that you can reach your different audiences and stakeholders, whether it's in mass media, what they call above the line, which is mass media, below the line, which is point of sale material, print material, things like that, or outreach programs, or what we call behavior change communication workshops, getting the media together and telling them, here you guys, this is what Islam is about. 1, 2, 3. Preparing a question and answer. So that's the B. The O of Robostic is objectives. And your objectives have to be SMART, with a double R and a double T. S, specific. M, measurable. A, appropriate. R, relevant. R, realistic. T, targeted. T, time-bound. So you have to have it. You can't say, well, we want people to love Islam. No, when, how long, who's going to be doing what?
It's very, very clever, really.
It's a very simple methodology. So that's
the O.
The S is strategy.
How you're going
strategy
to do it.
is long term. Like for Schweppes, for example, they told us they had a secret called the 3 C's. Consistency, concentration, continuity, where the whole campaign becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Consistency, using an actor called Hassan Abdin, using a concept called The Secret of Schweppes, and all the time, whether it's on radio, television, point of sale, outdoor. Concentration, they concentrated on what made them unique, what they call their unique selling proposition. It was the only carbonated soft drink that had natural fruit particles in it. So we learned this from England, where we had an actor called Jeffrey William Franklin, who used to come out and say, natural fruit particles embraced in a mist of refreshing bubbles. In Arabic, فتفيت من الفاكهة الطبيعية محتضنة بسراب من البقاليل المنعشة. Wow, we created a language called Strepsoni. Anyway, tea tactics is short term. On the occasion of Ramadan, donate to the Children's Hospital. You know, on the occasion of Mother's Day, buy 2, get 1 free. I of Robustic is implementation, and implementation has 3 sides to it. What are the tasks? Who is responsible for each of them? And what is the timeline? And finally, C stands for control, which is monitoring and evaluation. Have we achieved our objectives? Where did we go wrong? What are the lessons learned? So you can do the same
for anything. So why don't we then? If it's so obvious that it can work. When you talk about money, there's more money in the Muslim world than you could shake a stick at. There's all the money and all the expertise.
Yes, and actually this is what I think we'll be talking about later when I wish everybody had my mother, and I'm an optimist, and I think we can all do it. We're all, especially if we're in Egypt, we're all in the same boat. So yes,
absolutely. Okay, let's have your second choice before we move on.
The second choice would be a lovely voice, Nat King Cole, and it was When I Fall in Love.
When I Fall in Love, Nat King Cole.
When I fall in love, it will be forever, or I'll never fall in love. In a restless world like this is, love is ended before it's begun, and too many moonlight kisses seem to cool in the warmth of the sun. When I give my heart, it will be completely, or I'll never give my heart. And the moment I can feel that you feel that way too is when I fall in love.
That was the delightful When I Fall in Love, Nat King Cole. Why that second choice? If you had 11 girlfriends, you did a lot of falling in love, yeah?
Yes. Yeah. But I'm lucky because I fell in love with one person that I owe my life to, and I'm married to right now. So,
Alhamdulillah. You're writing a book called The Story of My Wife.
Yes.
Because I owe my life to my mother and my wife. Is that right?
That's right.
Tell us about that.
Okay. My mother, when I went to school, the English school, my Arabic was very weak because we were not allowed to speak in Arabic outside the Arabic class, and if we did that, we'd get a beating, 3 of the best. So my mother got me a tutor, and I was 7 years old, and the tutor told me that only Muslims were going to go to heaven. So I went crying to my mother. She said, "Why are you crying, Galal?" I said, "Because Saeed, my best friend and neighbor, is not going to come and play with me in heaven." She said, "Why?" I said, because the teacher told me that only Muslims were going to go to heaven. She said, no, whether you're a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or of any faith, as long as you and Saeed drink your milk before going to bed, and you don't lie, and you don't steal, you and Saeed are going to go and play in heaven.
Oh, that's good
and
advice.
Saeed's in Canada, and we agreed we're going to go and play in heaven.
That's nice advice.
So I always say, I wish the whole world had my mother for a mother, because really, she tricked me. She got just me and Saeed. I mean, she got us to drink our milk. But she would tell me something that was really, I mean, when I have 20 commandments when I used to have a company, and I used to put them all over the place. And
not 10 commandments.
No, they're 20
commandments.
Yes.
Huh? Very bossy. You're the boss.
Yeah. But it's everything I learned from my mother and from life. And my mother used to tell me, Galal, do anything you want in life, as long as you're not going to be ashamed to admit it in public. The moment you do something that you're going to be ashamed of and you won't admit in public, then you're doing something wrong. So one of the 20 commandments is 2 wrongs don't make a right. That's my mother. So I owe a lot to my mother. My wife, on the other hand, is another story, and that could be the topic of another session. But
she's listening now.
She stood by me. Her father was a famous doctor in Jerusalem. She's Palestinian, and he had removed King Hussein's tonsils. And she married me against his will, because at the time I didn't have a university degree. And at the time, you know, it was very important to have a degree, and he disowned her. But in spite of all that, but there's a happy ending to it. She got me to go back to university, and he found out, and then he came and visited my family, and he told her, Galal's toenail is worth your neck. But I owe her my life, because she stood by me. She had faith in me. She got me to go back to university. And really, she's brought up 3 children, my 2 daughters and myself. And the stories in the book are going to be very funny.
3 children, your 2 daughters and yourself.
Yeah. And, the stories are fun because she would wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she would ask me if I'm thirsty. You know what that means?
No.
Go and get me a glass of water. And if I make a mistake and I say, no, I'm not thirsty, she's going to say, well, thank you very much. And that would mean, a whole week of, frowning at me and so on. So they're all real stories like that.
Well, 3 children, one of them, in fact, was one of my guests.
Yes.
Rula, your daughter Rula Zaki, was on the show a few weeks back. And your first song, by Rula, is going to be your next choice. What's your next choice here?
Rula sings another Nat King Cole song, Smile.
Smile.
Yes.
Okay, so we're listening to Rula Zaki singing
Smile.
Smile.
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by. If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile and maybe tomorrow you'll see the sun come shining through. Trace of sadness, although a tear may be ever so near, that's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that is still worthwhile if you just smile.
I'm Idris Tawfiq, and you're listening to A Life in Question. My guest this week is Professor Galal Zaki. Professor Galal, you've worked with different ministries here in Egypt and with government bodies abroad. What would you say you've achieved in doing that in your life with ministries and government bodies?
They're different. I've done a lot of social cause marketing. I used to represent a very big public relations company, and we used to do public relations without really knowing what we were doing until we joined this company. And we had the first terrorist attack in Luxor with 4 tourists killed. So at the time we were hired by the Ministry of Tourism to do a crisis management program for Egypt in 6 countries whose media was detrimental to our tourism industry in Egypt. These countries were the United States.
Was this known?
This was in 1991.
Did people know about this, or this was kind of a secret thing you did?
No, people know about it.
Okay, I see.
We worked for the minister at the time. His name was Fuad Sultan. And the countries with the United States, England, France, Italy, Spain, Germany, and the objective of what we were doing was to create balanced coverage in these 6 countries' media. So what happened was the headquarters was in London because it was easier for London to communicate with the rest of Europe and the United States.
Yes.
And they would monitor all the media in the 6 countries, positive, negative, neutral, on Egypt, and come up with a summary and present it to us here in Egypt, and we would take it to the minister. And every Thursday morning we would sit and review the past week and what we were going to do the following weeks. And we had people from the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Tourism, the tourism industry, the media here in Egypt. And if something was misrepresented, say in Der Spiegel in Germany, the company people would contact our embassy, and they would go and respond to and correct what was said wrongly.
Really?
So we discovered we weren't just dealing with tourism and terrorism, we were also dealing with the image of Islam and Egypt. So they would talk about Islamic fundamentalist, Islamic terrorist. So we had to create backgrounders, and that was about, Islam. And the best backgrounder that was produced by an American.
What does a backgrounder mean?
A backgrounder is, okay, you want to know about Islam, here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, simply, in simple terms.
What, a written thing or a video?
Everything, but they would be...
To give to
to the media.
I see.
Newspapers, television.
Oh, I see. So they don't have to do the work. You give them the work on a plate.
Exactly.
This is Islam. In 5 minutes. That's all you need to read.
Right. Okay. And why it was good, because it was written by or developed by a non-Muslim American, and the first one went into the Los Angeles Times. So he would address, Americans, how do you think of that? Or Germans, how do you think of that? It's adapted for each country. And the other thing, they tell us, well, you are targeting tourists. Okay, so we get statistics. We say there are only 4 tourists that were killed. It's not to say that one already is not too many, but let's put things in perspective. If you look at Florida, you have 35,000 tourists who are killed, mugged, raped every year. 35,000.
I see. Yeah.
So, and they would address things like that.
This is very clever, really.
Yeah, and the best thing is really to look at it from other people's perspective, not just an Arab or somebody, but this was an American and so on, and talking about facts and things like that. We also media trained the minister and the 2 other officials, and they went on a tour of the 6 countries, and you give them training, and you ask them certain questions, they answer in certain ways. You show it to them on video, and you say, look, well, you raised your hand here, or you frowned here, or you shouted there. And then don't use a negative with Mr. Sultan, what have you got to say regarding the collapse of tourism that has resulted from terrorism in Egypt? If he says, no, tourism has not collapsed, that would be in the Sunday Times, for example, tourism has not collapsed in Egypt, claims Minister Sultan.
I see.
So they tell him, well, you can answer in a different way. Like, I disagree with the way you're asking this question. If you look at Egypt over the last 10 years and you see the incredible infrastructure that we built, we have the best underground metro built for us by the French in the whole Middle East, North Africa region. We have factories that are producing and exporting and so on. So that was one of the things that...
Before you go on to another one, you know, I'm not a politician, but in these days in Egypt, one of the issues that's raised, we won't call it a criticism, one of the things that people say is that the government here, the administration here, isn't managing to get its message across well. It's losing the media war. There's a battle of words going on at the moment, and the opposition seem to be winning it. Can the strategies you suggest, could they be used?
Of
Is
course.
the government going to could it use these things?
If everybody is willing to do something for this country, this robustic model I'm talking about is very simple. The stakeholder mapping. You need to have all the different stakeholders, who you can talk to, who you can't talk to, who hates you, who's against you, who's with you. And then how are you going to address all these so that you can get the maximum, support for what you want to do. We're all in the same boat, and then developing the messaging. But we have to be able to listen to each other. I have a very dear friend who's into marketing, and he's a marketing consultant, and he came up with an idea. He told me, Galal, I was thinking of a hypothetical, story. Like, America, Obama wants to know what he's going to do for Egypt. Okay, so he brings in all those people who are fighting each other, all the people who hate each other, puts them in a camp, and they're fighting and shouting and all that. And then all of a sudden, they discover that 2 of their children are missing, and they all start to worry. And these 2 children are from different camps, and they all start helping each other to look for the kids. And then they find the kids were so scared that they were hiding under a bed. And this was the first time that they all got together with a common cause. And it is really, we're doing this for our children. And the future is not the way it used to be. Things are not, we keep driving into the future with our eyes on the rear view mirror. Nobody would have thought that social media would have changed the face of history, not only in this country.
Tell us what you mean by that.
Okay.
We're driving into the future, looking into the rearview mirror. What does that mean?
Yes, it means we're always thinking that things are going to continue to happen the way they used to.
I see.
If you look at the new generation, they are the future.
I see.
They are not
For sure.
brought up the way we were.
Absolutely.
They started a revolution, through Facebook. How can you do that? Nobody would have thought about
That's
that.
right, yes.
At the time when it happened, and it was wonderful, and Egyptians for the first time were proud of being Egyptians. We used to clean the garbage. Look at our streets. Look at our now today.
Yes.
What's that? We used to be proud of being. And then Obama said, they need to teach their children the Egyptian way. The Prime Minister of Austria said we need to have these people need a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yes.
Berlusconi started praising us. The whole world started. And he said, so what's, there's nothing new. Egypt is always creating history. We need to get this kind of feel in every one of us so that we can do something. I can tell you something. Before the revolution, I wanted to do a program in Arabic called Why I Hate Egypt. Le Bakra Mas. Oh my God, we say, Galal, don't. Okay, Le Bakra al-Masriyin. Why I hate Egypt. No, Galal, please don't do that.
Yes.
Okay, Yalla nhibba Mas. Let's love Egypt. Yes, that's a good thing. And I think that the basic problem we have is behavior. And I have a formula to get us out of this thing, but I think I'll keep it to when I can meet with the president and I can meet with the opinion leaders, and we can discuss it together, a formula that can help solve our problems.
Okay, let's have your next choice. This is all very, very interesting. I don't know why we're not applying all of these strategies. Number 4.
It's going to be Sway. Dean Martin, but only this time it's going to be Galal Zaki.
Okay, lovely. So this is Galal Zaki.
In Arabic.
In Arabic.
And in English.
Arabic and English.
Yeah.
Sway.
قلبي دق لما شاف عينيك حس بيك هات ايديك طول اليوم وانا بفكر فيك يا ريت ابقى ليك عايزة اعرف انت رايح فين جاي منين عايز ايه عايزة اعرف كل خطوة ليك يا ريت ابقى ليك انا ليك انا
listening there to Rula Zaki singing Dean Martin's Sway. Why that song?
It's lively, and why Rula gives it some... I love Rula's voice. And she sings it in Arabic and in English. And so in Arabic, it's... actually, it was a number one for 7 weeks on one of the radio channels. And I just love the song. And I love Dean Martin's, and Nat King Cole. And again...
And Rula has a beautiful voice.
And Rula has a beautiful voice.
She has a lovely voice. She sang live for us on the program when she was sitting where you are now. Now, you also... You're very varied skills in so many ways. You also wrote a one-act skit on Shakespeare called 16th Century Nightmare or The Unfinished Tragedy. Tell us about that.
Okay, it's I was doing literature, and they told us to write an essay, and I wrote two things. One called It, and I found myself writing this play. So it's about William Shakespeare. I give him the character of Dr. Faustus. He's written his 4 great tragedies and wants to write the 5th that will make him immortal. And we have the tragic heroes coming, Macbeth, Hamlet, Lear, Othello, and they start talking in their, language, telling him, why did you do this to us and things. Can I give you a bit of it?
Oh, do, please.
Should we start at the beginning or
as you wish. No, just
you
give
can
us...
cut out if you... No,
give us a taste.
Okay, William is writing and with his feather and the music of Zarathustra, very majestic music, and he says, "Ah, William, now hast thou but one more act, and then thou shalt be immortalized. 1/5 great tragedy, and fame is thine forever. Critics, foolish critics, shall be condemned to the everlasting pain of explaining my masterpiece. I'll keep that word of promise to their ear and break it to their heart. Let Aristotle turn in his grave if he objects. Aristotle, a veritable fool. Have I not often disregarded the unities of time and place, and yet commanded greater influence with action alone? Aristotle, indeed. And now to sleep. To sleep perchance to dream perchance to summon night's black agents and perhaps more monstrous inspiration. Come, Black Hecate, and kindle my imagination with demonic imagery, for as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, my pen shall turn them into gory shapes and give to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. Thunder, lightning, he sleeps, the witches come on stage, Macbeth with mashed eggs and things, and they start, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, thou shalt die forsooth. Thou who hast given us this life of agony, thou who hast made us live in misery. William wakes up. He says, why, weird creatures, do haunt me thus? Have I on some forgotten day harmed you in any way? Never, never, never canst thou do us harm. This sailor's toe that we do show keeps us safe. It is our charm. It came from the crypt of immortality, enables us to mete out horrid misery. But peace, hear the victims, let them speak and voice their grievances. Come forward, speak. Hamlet. I am one whom thou didst lead to madness, whose mother thou didst marry to my father's murderer until to be or not to be. That was the question that haunted me. As if 1 or 2 murders were not enough, you drowned the stage in a Senecan bloodbath. Enough, speak thou. And then it goes on. Macbeth.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Galal is doing all this without any notes at all. He's just, you know it all by heart. You know the whole thing by heart, yes?
Yes.
Why didn't you go on the stage? Why didn't you go into acting?
Actually,
TV
we did that, and then we did it in the States. And
is that right?
Fun. Yeah.
You did it on the stage?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Maybe advertising and marketing and stuff, it's very similar to acting.
Oh, yes.
You're putting on a show and you have to attract an audience and so on. What I want to know about now is something very interesting, because 16 years before the terrible events of September the 11th in the United States, you put on a conference in the Middle East, which in a way foresaw the complications that would threaten the world 16 years later. Tell us about that.
Yes. This was in the mid-'80s, and I did the first conference on advertising and marketing in the Arab world called Advista Arabia. And one of the sessions, we had 28 sessions. was always in the back of my mind since my mother's time, and drinking milk and bringing cultures together. Then when I went to the States, there was a conference called The Mirror and the Lamp, how far literature mirrors society and how far literature should work as a guiding lamp for society. And we had Eudora Welty and Ring Lardner and somebody. So I said, I'm from Egypt and I love to watch television and cartoons, but I find out that invariably the evil character is either an evil pharaoh or an evil Arab. And I told them about a cartoon showing an evil Arab wearing Gulf Arab headdress, and he was in possession of the only cow left in the world, and he was imposing a milk boycott against the nice children. So they laughed and they said, yes, you know, there was a time when the heavies were the Germans or the Japanese when they were at war with America, with the Germans or the Japanese. And she said, you should protest. I said, I'm not protesting. It's a child is a tabula rasa, easily impressionable. If you show him something like that when he's a child, then he grows up and he sees a film, this is a hijacking, and he hears Allahu Akbar and he sees people chopping down people. So the idea stayed with me, and I did one session, I called it the tangibles and intangibles of information and the Arab image. How at the time, up till 1987, we didn't have a single Arab satellite. We were talking internally to each other, but not telling the world.
Until when? Until when?
Up till 1987. This was when the conference was held. After that, they started doing Arabsat and NBC and ART and all that. And I got 3 wonderful speakers. One was called Jack Shaheen, who wrote a book called The TV Arab, How Arabs Are Stereotyped as Mega-Rich Hedonists or Terrorists. And I got... I used to call it Arab bashing, and I have the video actually of it. I had Abdallah Schleifer, who was also a professor at AUC, and he was head of a television network here. And someone else called Humayun Gohar from Pakistan, who had a magazine called South. And Humayun told us, as long as the Arabs are going and Egyptians are going to censor their media, you'll find people reading other magazines that may not tell them the truth. So that was the point where I say, you know, I saw something, you know, building up. And then after 9/11, I really got so angry, and I wrote a song, singing in the shower, and I started singing, and the song became Love the World, We Are One.
We're going to listen to the song in a moment or two. Before we come on to that, there's another thing I want to, because I'm fascinated by this that you've told us, robostics.
Robustic model of integrated marketing, yes.
Why is it that we don't use such a model? Why? If there is a clear strategy by which the message could be got across better, why do we not use it?
I think there are lots of reasons now. I mean,
is it that people don't want to get the real message across? Maybe is that part of it?
It could be, and that's why when we do the stakeholder mapping, we find out who is with you, who's against you, who's on the side. You know,
and you often be very surprised who's with you and who's against you.
Yes, and we're not talking just Egypt. You know what's happening. In whose interest, you know, would anybody want to help Egypt or not help Egypt? So, but you need to have a think tank. And a core group of people who really love the country, and there are so many that love the country.
Indeed, there are. Yes.
And because we're all in the same boat,
yes.
and we need to put ourselves, you know, in each other's shoes. You know, I need to know if I were whatever religion or whatever culture,
how other people feel.
How would I feel if somebody treated me in a different way?
Yes.
And we're Egyptian.
And whether another thing is very important. You know, I was talking to my students today about this. You know, some people feel persecuted, feel oppressed, and whether people are persecuted or oppressed, in a sense, isn't the important issue. The important issue is if they feel that they are oppressed, if they feel that they're being persecuted, we must do something about it to make them not feel persecuted.
That's right. Yes.
That's very important.
Also, we have things in communication called perception is reality. I mean, if people perceive something...
That's right. It is their reality.
It is their reality.
It's real for them.
And also behavior change communication. You need to be able to... For example, I used to give media training to the Ministry of agriculture, and during the time when they had swine flu and bird flu and all that kind of stuff. Now, their problem was backyard, growing, having chickens and women who raise chickens and ducks and all that. They would be afraid to show the officials, the chickens and ducks, not because they were afraid of culling, because they were afraid of if they found something that had a disease in it, they'd eradicate the whole flock. They weren't as scared of that as much as they were afraid of the evil eye. If her neighbor knew how many chickens and how many ducks she had, they'd stop laying eggs. So if I don't know this, how can I communicate?
I see.
So I need to know how to communicate with the different, audiences or stakeholders.
Let's have we're coming towards the end. Let's have this last song. Tell us about it first. You wrote the song.
Yes, I wrote the song because I was, I saw that everybody was hating everybody else, and that Islam was I'm a Muslim. I'm a KG1 Muslim. I pray once a day, but I also do what my mother told me. As long as I can admit anything I say in public, then I'm okay. So I wanted to say that Islam has nothing to do with terrorism. It can't. No religion can have anything to do with it.
No.
So I wrote this. I started singing to myself while I was having a shower, and then I had a dear friend who passed away who was used to do the music, and Rola was the perfect person because she sings in so many languages, and we did this CD just for ourselves, but we had 11 senators visiting Egypt from the United States, and I gave it to them as a message of love and peace from Egypt to the United States. And Rola sings it, and she sings in Greek and Turkish to bring the Greeks and Turks together.
Okay, let's listen now. So tell us what it's called.
Love the World, We Are One.
So we're listening to Love the World, We Are One, written by Galal Zaki and sung by Rola Zaki.
Is there hope for every boy and girl to see love embrace the world? Let us give all our love, let us live. We've got a right to live, we've got a right to give, we've got a right to love. Hand in hand across the land, all we need is to understand that we are one. Love the world, love the world. We are one. Yes, there's hope for every boy and girl to see love embrace the world. We won't give.
So that was Love the World, We Are One, sung very beautifully by Rola Zaki, and written by you, Galal Zaki. One of your missions in life is to bridge the gap between cultures and religions.
Yes.
How do you try to do that?
Exactly through songs like this, or we used it as a video to inaugurate 2 conferences. Rola, I think we call her the voice of love and peace. I would love it for her to go around the world and sing in Arabic and in French, in Arabic and in Greek, Arabic and Turkish, Arabic and Russian, as an ambassadoress to Egypt, and to show that religion has nothing to do with terrorism, and to bring the world together. I wish we could do that. That's one of my missions. The other mission is women's empowerment because of my mother and my wife. And the third mission I have in life is youth empowerment, because we need youth are the future, and we need youth leadership. And that's why I would love to dedicate the rest of my life to training to training young people how to communicate and how to love each other and how to make Egypt a showpiece for the world.
We've had other guests talking about these lofty ideas. And I wouldn't say that I'm a cynic, but I'm a realist, And I say these are lovely ideas. We're going to empower women. We're going to empower young Shabab Masriyin. We're going to empower them to do great things. But how are we going to do it? Are we just doing it, for wealthy Egyptians who've got lots of money and are well educated, and they can do they can speak English, and they look to the West? What about kids in Khusus and in Abbasiyah?
Okay, remember I told you I had the solution, but I wasn't going to mention it.
Okay.
It's also based on something my mother told me. I am only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And I call it the ripple effect. And it starts, by getting people to love their country. How can I ask people to love their country if 40% of them can't find food or water on their tables,
exactly.
or a roof on top of their head?
Exactly.
So social justice, but social justice with a stick. Because, and I learned this in America, half the class I was teaching were Native Americans. And they weren't doing as well as the rest of the students, so I was treating them differently. It didn't work. I went to the head of the tribe, it's Chippewa Indian tribe. And
where was this?
In North Dakota. And the head of the Student Opportunity Program told me, Galal, you are mistaken. Native Americans, they get us to go into university for free. They fill in our forms and so on. And what you don't use, you lose. So sometimes you have to be cruel only to be kind. So, social justice, the government, but with a stick. The government is going to get your children in for free at school, at university. 2 or 3 children, because I have a policy that says children are the poor man's capital. Someone will get you 15 kids to work in the fields, or they become street children and start stealing money.
And stealing.
So yes, 2, 3 children, schools, but anything above that, you have to pay for them.
Yes.
Otherwise, it will continue forever and we'll never get out of this thing. So the second thing after social justice is national unity. I don't care if I'm a Muslim or a Christian or a Jew or an atheist. I'm Egyptian. I love my country. I'm ready to do anything because I'm proud to be Egyptian. Then that's important. The third and most important...
And just coming in on that one, whether you're Muslim or Jew or Christian or whatever, as long as you give me my right and you respect me, I've no right at all to criticize what you believe. You worship a bottle of water if it makes you a good man.
Exactly. And you love your country, and you're not lying and not stealing, drinking your milk before going to bed, as my mother told me. The third thing and most important is the enactment, the enforcement of the law. Because, here again, if we have laws and they're not enforced, and you've seen the chaos that's going on in the country, this is not. And I have an idea of how we can all work together to do that. I mean, I have a whole plan, but it's in the drawer.
You should bring it out of the drawer. So you work now at AUC.
Yes, I love it. I can't believe they're paying me for this.
So you were telling me earlier on you were thinking of retiring?
Yes, I was going to retire, and then they discovered, and I went to Hawaii and Las Vegas with my wife, and a very dear professor friend of mine heard about it, and he said, Galal, come on, we have a position for you. So I came and started.
So how long have you been doing that?
Since September.
Oh, I see. And it's full-time, part-time?
Yeah, no, full-time. This
really?
First time. I taught a long time ago, but this is the first time I do it on a full-time basis. And
I see.
The students are great. Yes. I'm having lots of fun.
Yeah, and this is at the new campus?
New campus, yes.
I see. So what of Galal Zaki's plans for the future? What plans do you have for what? Is there anything you've not done, or is there anything you want to do?
You ask what is our aim, I answer in one word. Victory. Victory at all costs. Victory in spite of all terror. Victory however hard and long the road may be. For without victory, there can be no survival for the Egyptian empire, no survival for what the Egyptian empire has stood for.
No, I would love to share my feelings with everybody who loves Egypt, and I'm so happy that you invited me.
I'm delighted that you've come.
Idris, and it's
very important. I was telling you before. It's one of my aims, one of my dreams for the show is that people listening, hear different opinions and different people's ideas, and learn to accept people's ideas. People have different thoughts, and we can all learn from one another.
Yes.
You know, Cardinal Newman, I don't know if you've heard of Cardinal John Henry Newman, he was a British cardinal in the 19th century. He said that a Catholic cardinal, he said that one of the greatest losses in the world is that as human beings we don't share the thoughts of our hearts.
Yes.
You know, everyone walking in the street that we walk past has so much inside them, ideas and dreams and hopes and
Yes.
you know, and all that we're talking about Egypt, you know, every one of them has personal dreams, family dreams, dreams of the country, and in sharing them and respecting people have got different ideas to us.
Gandhi, I have a slide that was sent to me on Facebook, was praising the Prophet Muhammad. Gandhi, salatu salam. So it's such a lovely thing. I mean, you know, you have.
It's been a delight to have you with us.
Thank you.
And Charlotte won't be the last time that we meet. Thank you very much indeed for coming.
Thank you.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. My thanks go to Mohammed El Garawani on the controls. I hope you'll all join me next week for another Life in Question. And until then, this is Idris Tawfiq wishing you Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.